Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Kano Tryharding Modern. Today I was in a Jund sort of mood, so we're going to play Jund. There's nothing particularly different about this Jund list that I can see off the top of my head. It's just Jund, so we're playing a good mid-range deck, in theory the best mid-range deck in Modern, and we try to be disruptive, play fast clocks, and grind our opponents out for some value. So, let's go ahead and join a competitive constructed league, and I will see you all in round one. Alrighty, we will be on the play for round one. Also, the air conditioner has decided to kick on, so I apologize to anybody that can hear that. Doesn't look like it's affecting my audio too badly. We have nothing in the 2-drop spot, but I think this is fine. We're against a Gigantha deck. This means that my opponent is either playing Burn or playing Tron, I think. Or they could be playing a 5-color, very odd deck. I'm going to try keeping this. Having an early Lightning Bolt is excellent versus Burn, so I'm going to lead on Blackcleave Cliffs. Second land will probably be Verdant Catacombs. We'll see what happens. Yeah, the only 2 decks I've known to play Gigantha are... there's a Burn list that does this, as just like playing a 5/5 is sometimes beneficial, like when you're out of gas, and it's not as restrictive of a requirement as Obosh, even though Obosh is powerful. And occasionally Tron has played this card out of the sideboard, just because like it's the only consideration is you don't play Walking Ballista in Tron. Okay, opponent is 5-color Planeswalkers. So let's see what they reveal. Renin 6. Okay. I don't think I'm going to bolt their face. We untap and draw Bloodbraid, play Verdant Catacombs, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a Prismatic Vista. Cracks Prismatic Vista, goes to 17. Plays a Mountain, plays Renin 6. I don't think we Lightning Bolt Renin 6. I think we get aggressive and bolt our opponent, although I could use the Bolt and the Kolaghan's command to kill Renin 6. I think I'm going to go face. So we're going to fetch an Overgrown Tomb. Tapped. Untap. We draw a Fatal Push. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. We're going to do something with Kolaghan's command, even if it is just shock our opponent and make them discard. And then we'll do Marching Bloodbraid Elves. Opponent cracks Prismatic Vista, goes down to 13. Gets an island. Picks up Prismatic Vista. Puts Gigantha in their hand. I could force them to discard, but they're going to discard anyway. I think I'm going to wait on this Kolaghan's command. Alright, we untap. We draw Raging Ravine. Play Bloodstained Mire, and we're going to fetch a Blood Crypt untapped. I want double red, double black. Play Bloodbraid. Wheel into Liliana. Cast Lily. Uptick Liliana. And I think we're going to discard Fatal Push here, because my opponent doesn't seem to be playing many, if any, creatures, and Fatal Push doesn't hit Gigantha. So, pitch Fatal Push. Opponent discards Ketria Triome, go to combat, attack my opponent. Now, my opponent could be playing the, like, Omnath Scapeshift weirdness deck with Bring to Light and Niv, but Oath of Nissa tells me that they're very Planeswalker heavy, or potentially very Planeswalker heavy. Opponent plays Prismatic Vista, cracks, goes down to 9. Gets a Plains. Omnath? Okay, I slightly regret the Fatal Push now. Not overly so, but slightly. Then pick up a land. We untap. We draw an Overgrown Tomb. Edict our opponent. I mean, if we hit Lightning Bolt here, they lose. Bloodbraid hits a second Liliana, which is pretty awesome. That's why we Edicted first. Uptick Lily. Discard Overgrown Tomb. Opponent discards a second Renin 6. We'll go to combat. Attack our opponent. Take them to 3. And then next turn we have Raging Ravine activation, or Kolaghan's command, or whatever we draw, plus all of Liliana's abilities except her ult. Okay. So opponent is probably playing Omnath again. They do. So they can play a land and gain life. They might even be able to fetch the land, get 5 mana, and then play Gigantha. If it's just Gigantha, they're dead on board, because we can Edict them, animate Raging Ravine, and attack for lethal. Felidar Guardian. Okay, so they're the Felidar Guardian combo deck. Opponent kills Lily. That's pretty good, I guess. Didn't think about that. Opponent upticks Renin 6. We untap. We gotta draw something good. We draw Fatal Push. I have no way to turn on Fatal Push unless I Kolaghan's Command, killing my own Bloodbraid. I mean, pre-combat anyway. I could just attack. Alright. Go to combat. Attack my opponent. Opponent blocks and blocks. Sure. So we are going to Kolaghan's Command, picking up Bloodbraid, killing Omnath. And then we're going to push the Felidar Guardian. Okay. Opponent paths Bloodbraid Elf. So we will get a mountain. Pass to our opponent. Opponent can ult Renin 6, and then they have a lot of paths to exiles, basically. If they have a land, they can Felidar Guardian a land, and then Saheeli Rai to kill us. I always forgot that the only deck that actually plays Oath of Nissa is the Felidar Guardian combo deck. That's been that way for a while, too. I know that, like, sometimes the, like, 5-color Niv Delight does and whatnot, but really the only deck that does with any frequency is Felidar Guardian, like, cat combo, so. They uptick Renin 6 to 8. Okay, here comes Gigantha, question mark? Yep, there's Gigantha, leaving up path mana. We untap, we draw Wooded Foothills. Play Bloodbraid, Cascade, we hit Inquisition, so Inquisition on our opponent. They do have Path, and they're holding Guardian 3 lands, so take Path from them. Play Bloodbraid, play Wooded Foothills, pass the turn. So my opponent can ult Renin 6, and they're then holding 3 paths to exiles. But with their current hand, at least to the best that we know it, if we draw Kroxa, they die, because they would have to discard 2 lands. Well, no, because they could path Kroxa in response. They would only take the damage from the first trigger. Well, I guess we would have the mana to activate Raging Ravine and kill them then, but they would be able to path Raging Ravine. So I think what my opponent's going to do here is they're going to Felidar Guardian, Flickering Oath of Nissa. Yep, they found Saheeli Rai, so Prismatic Vista and we lose. Oh, they don't even have to. Alright, they got us. Well, we had a very, very slow hand versus their deck. I do want Assassin's Trophy. I think Ashiok is important in this matchup. They don't use the Grave. Collective Brutality can duress Path. That's about it. Plague Engineer on Cat actually stops the combo for as long as we have a Plague Engineer, so maybe that's an option. And do we want Fulminator? They have a lot of non-basic lands, but they play Renin 6. So I've got a feeling they would just buy them back. I don't think it's worth paying the 3 mana for. Alright, what do we drop? Gotta take out 4 cards for these. I think... Oh, man. I'm not an expert at cutting cards out of Jund, because a lot of the cards that are in the... Like, it's a very tight list to me. Some of the cards are obviously going to be bad, though. So I think I'm fine cutting, like, a Seasoned Pyromancer, even though it's really good. Kroxa might be too slow, but it's like the inevitability. I don't want to cut the Hand Hate. I don't want to cut Fatal Push, because it's the only thing that we have that kills Cat instantly. K-Command is not very good, because, like, the grindy modes of K-Command... Like, buying back a creature is great, but I'm not gonna cut all of it. I'll cut 1 K-Command. I don't want to cut Bolt, because that's our reach for actually killing our opponent. I can cut, like, a Lily, a Goyf, maybe? Just, like, trim a bunch of... I don't know. I don't think that's correct, but I actually don't know how to play this deck, so... I didn't imagine it would be this hard. We'll play first. Obviously, if we can get a hand that leads on Hand Hate, that'd be great. This hand plays Kroxa into Ashiok and Lily, so I'm going to keep this hand. And I'm going to start with Overgrown Tomb, tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Prismatic Vista, crack Prismatic Vista, get a Forest. They play Oath, let's see what they reveal. Windswept Teeth, okay. We untap, draw Tarmogoyf. So we have the option of playing Kroxa or playing Tarmogoyf. I think we play Tarmogoyf and just pressure. And I'm kind of right now at the point where if I play Ashiok, I'm going to mill myself with him. just to make sure that Goyf is, in theory, bigger than he would be otherwise. Opponent plays a second Oath. Interesting. Creature, land, or planeswalker card. They get Cat. Cat Beast. Play Windswept Heath. Okay, we untap. Draw Plague Engineer. I'm going to attack first. Now, I could be missing damage off of Ashiok here. Like milling myself. But I've got a feeling that playing Ashiok is going to force my opponent to search and path. And I wanted to make sure I got in that damage. Like, I'm pretty sure they're holding path. That's what I'm reading here. Opponent cracks Windswept Heath in response. Shocks Hollowed Fountain. Okay. Yeah, if I had led on Ashiok, they would have just pathed Tarmogoyf, and we wouldn't have got any value out of that. I have 2 red, 2 green, 2 black. We'll just get a swamp. I still think it's correct to mill myself and exile my opponent's grave. Okay. Not what I was hoping to mill, but I think that'll work for now. Pass the turn. So opponent can't search off of any more fetch lands. They can't cord. They play Saheeli. So we either need to draw removal for Saheeli, or we need to play Plague Engineer and name Cat and hope they don't have a path. Okay, they hit us for 1. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Okay. So lead on Inquisition. Let's see what's going on. We know they have the Cat combo. Stoneforge, Sword of Feast and Famine, Misty that doesn't give them any mana, Felidar. They can't search their deck for Stoneforge. Sword, they can cast, but if they play Stoneforge, we can just Edict them with Liliana. So we'll take Veil. Then we're going to play Plague Engineer. It's a Cat Beast. We'll name Cat. And I am going to mill myself again. The idea is we could mill a Kroxa, maybe. But we'll pass to our opponent. Okay, opponent plays Stoneforge Mystic. Cannot search. Opponent scries and deals damage to us. Alright. They play a Tranquil Thicket, so they will have 4 mana next turn. We untap. We draw Fatal Push. I could attack their hand, but they can keep the Felidar. I think it's more important to just push the Stoneforge and then like play Liliana or play Plague Engineer number 2 naming Cat. This way they can't have the line of Felidar, Flicker, Hollowed Fountain, play Path win the game. So play Plague Engineer, name Cat. Maybe it's better to name Beast if they have like, I don't know, sideboard Thragtusk. Attack my opponent. Opponent untaps. They play Guardian. Well, they can make an arbitrary number of -1/2s if they want. They flicker Oath of Nissa. They get a Wooded Foothills that also... This Ashiok is doing work. We're just punishing them for playing a ton of fetch lands because they're a 5-color deck. So I think next turn we're going to play Lily and Edict. They scry, do a damage to us. We go to 15. They play Wooded Foothills. And they pass the turn. We untap. Draw Nurturing Peatland. Alright, red-black. Play Kroxa. Make them discard. And discard Misty. We sack Kroxa. Play Lily. Take out the Cat. Go to combat and hit them for 4. Saheeli Rai ult doesn't do anything because they can't search their library. Okay. They scry 1 and deal a damage. Play an island and pass. We untap. Draw Blood Crypt. Shock Blood Crypt. Uptick Lily. Opponent discards Misty, so their last card in hand is Sword of Feast and Famine. Go to combat. Hit them for 4, take them to 1. And I'm going to start by cycling Peatland, leaving enough mana to cast Kroxa. Red, red, black, black. Okay. Alright, cast Kroxa. Exiling a whole bunch of lands we don't need. Opponent's going to discard their last card in hand, which is Sword, so they don't take any damage. And they die if we make it to the combat step. Alright. So we're going to Game 3, Round 1. I feel like I want Lily back in the deck. She's like very important to the grind game plan. I'm going to cut the other Kolagon's command. Well, they have artifacts, so having at least one Kolagon's command seems important. I don't know what I cut here. Maelstrom Pulse is also powerful. I think cutting Bloodbraid is wrong, because that's how we're going to... Bloodbraid seems very important, just as like a card advantage spell. I guess as far as artifacts go, I do have an Abrupt Decay Assassin's Trophy. No, I definitely want 1K command in here. I'm going to take out another Seasoned Pyromancer for Lily. Which is not great, because Seasoned Pyromancer is excellent, but... Alright, this is the kind of hand I think I want to start with. We will keep. I would like to draw another land, so that I can actually play Wrenn and 6 on 2, but... Opponent leads on Oath of Nissa. They get a Flooded Strand. They untap, we draw Bloodbraid. Play Bloodstained Mire, crack it. Get an Overgrown Tomb, untapped. And Inquisition. Opponent's got Veil of Summer, Stoneforge, Path Felidar. Take Stoneforge. Pass the turn. If I play Tarmogoyf and they path it, they're just accelerating us to Lily or Wrenn and 6 or Bloodbraid. Opponent plays Flooded Strand. Now they do have a Veil of Summer. Play Blackleaf Cliffs. Play Wrenn and 6. Pick up Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Flooded Strand. Gets a Raugrin Triome. They untap. They did draw a third land in the form of Waterlogged Grove. We untap and draw Fatal Push. So what I'm going to do this turn is play Bloodstained Mire. Play Tarmogoyf. I'm going to uptick Wrenn and 6 no value. Because I want that land on board to Fatal Push that Felidar Guardian. Okay, the Path Goyf, that's fine. We'll get a Swamp. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Wrenn and 6, sure. Picks up Flooded Strand, plays it, passes the turn. So, sack Bloodstained Mire on our end step. Let's get a Blood Crypt tapped. Untap. We draw Wrenn and 6. I'm going to start by playing Bloodbraid here. Because whatever we wheel into is going to dictate what we're doing here. Okay? Cast Thoughtseize. Opponent's going to Veil. Okay? Protect all their stuff. Fizzle Thoughtseize. Bloodbraid enters the battlefield. Go to combat. Attack Wrenn and 6. They may fetch and then path here. And if that's the case, then we pick up the Bloodstained Mire and leave up Fatal Push. Okay? So we're going to get a Forest. Pick up Mire. Play Mire. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Picks up Flooded Strand. Plays Omnath. Draws a card. Plays Flooded Strand. Gains a bunch of life. If they crack Flooded Strand, we push Omnath. Okay. Fetch with Bloodstained Mire. Get our last black land in the deck. Push Omnath. Because we cannot have them gaining that much mana and doing something crazy with it this turn. They get a Hallowed Fountain tapped. And then they pass the turn. We untap. Draw Seasoned Pyromancer. Play Lily. Uptick. I'm going to discard our second Wrenn and 6 here. They discard Temple Garden. Okay. We're going to Thoughtseize. Wrenn and 6 to Fairy Felidar Guardian. Well, Wrenn and 6 doesn't matter. Teferi doesn't really matter either. I mean, it could unsummon Oath of Nissa and get him a ton of advantage. Guardian matters a bit, but is easier to answer than Teferi is. Opponent's going to have 6 mana next turn. I think I have to take the Felidar just to make sure that they can't, like, draw, like, or that they can't pick up a land out of their grave, draw Saheeli, and kill us. We'll play a Swamp. We'll play Pyromancer, and then we'll uptick Wrenn and 6 after we draw with Seasoned Pyromancer here. Nice. Pick up Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. And next turn, we're just going to alt Wrenn and 6 and have a whole bunch of Inquisitions, Thoughtseizes, and Fatal Pushes. Okay, opponent down ticks Renin 6 on our Renin 6. Plays Teferi. Unsummons Oath of Nissa to draw a card. They play Misty, crack Misty, get a forest, play Oath of Nissa, they get an island. So you know they're holding Island Renin 6. Then they Celestial Purge Liliana of the Veil. Okay, so they're holding Island Renin 6. We untap, we draw Verdant Catacombs, play Wooded Foothills, fetch with Wooded Foothills, get a Stomping Ground tapped, uptick Renin 6. We can either downtick and kill Teferi, or we can attack and kill Teferi. And I think we just attack, because they have a second Renin 6, so downticking to kill Teferi, we could attack Renin 6, but I don't think that's worth it, because they're holding another one. So, go to combat, kill Teferi, pass the turn. Opponent may have to downtick Renin 6 to just prevent ours from ulting. They cycle Waterlogged Grove from play. They do that. They play an island. If they have another Teferi, I think I have to ping that. They play Saheeli. They scry and do damage. Our life total is a lot lower than I want it to be. We untap, draw Nurturing Peatland. So play Nurturing Peatland. Cycle. We get Assassin's Trophy. Pick up Nurturing Peatland. Go to combat. Attack Renin 6 down to 1. Pass the turn. If we ult our Renin 6, we're just going to blow up all of their permanents until they don't have basics anymore. Which in theory is a very soon occurrence, I think. Opponent pings us with Saheeli. Opponent gives up Ren to kill Ren. Well, kills their Ren to ping our Ren. They play a new one. We now know none of the cards in their hand. They uptick on Waterlogged Grove. They play Waterlogged Grove. And they cycle it. Then they pass. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Play Peatland. Cycle Peatland. Bloodbraid. Okay. Let's Inquisition. Veil of Summer, Saheeli Rai, Renin 6. Take Veil. Uptick, picking up Nurturing Peatland. Play Bloodbraid, Cascade. We get a Tarmogoyf. Cast Tarmogoyf. Get a Bloodbraid. Go to combat. And we're going to attack our opponent for 5. Next turn, we're hitting them for 10 minimum, and we have an Assassin's Trophy as well. Us taking that Veil of Summer, I really think they needed to cast that Veil of Summer in response to that Inquisition. Because if they didn't, or if they had, they could potentially have drawn the combo piece and then drawn another Veil, or something to that effect. They scry and deal damage. I mean, they might even have to Renin 6 downtick on Bloodbraid, then play Renin 6 and downtick on Bloodbraid. Okay, they shoot us for 1. They ping our Renin 6. Okay. They play a new Renin 6. Keeping the new one. They pick up Waterlogged Grove. They play it. They cycle it. They play Teferi, Time Raveler. Okay. So I can unsummon Goyf here. They do. They get to draw. We untap. We draw Abrupt Decay. So kill Teferi. I guess technically I should have played and cycled this first, but... Cycle Nurturing Peatland. We get a Lightning Bolt. Does that change anything? Not really. Abrupt Decay, Saheeli Rai. Play Goyf. Go to combat. We'll hit our opponent for 5. Pass the turn. We have Assassin's Trophy and Lightning Bolt. And I think we've got him here. I don't think there's a sequence they have that can, like, infinite combo kill us, or... Not through this much removal, anyway. They play an Oath. So we know they're holding Saheeli Rai. Get the Oath. They get Felidar Guardian. They play Guardian. They flicker a land. Sure. If they have another land to play Saheeli, I'm going to Assassin's Trophy Felidar in response. And then if they have something like a Pact of Negation to protect them from that, I can Lightning Bolt Saheeli in response to the downtick. Nice. That was a very long game 1. Or round 1. That was a 50-minute round 1. So I will see you guys in round 2. I had to take a slight break to feed the brown dog. He was hungry. Alrighty. Well, if this is a matchup where removal matters, this is a good hand. I think this is okay to keep on the draw, so let's see what we're up against. Opponent starts Island into Serum Visions. Okay. We untap, draw Tarmogoyf, play Wooded Foothills, pass the turn. So this is either Storm or Through the Breach combo, could be Control. It's hard to tell off of Island Serum Visions. Okay, Steam Vents tells me this is probably Blue-Red Breach. Could be Storm, but I won't know until I see more of their deck. So I'm going to get a Blood Crypt here. And then I'm going to Lightning Bolt my opponent. I should have probably gotten Stomping Ground, actually, but I think that's depending on what we draw here. Okay, we draw a Mountain. So I need to get Verdant Catacombs here. Or not Verdant Overgrown Tomb. I need to get Overgrown Tomb, and then play Tarmogoyf. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Alright, it's Storm. We're getting gifts. So, with my opponent only having 1 mana left, we're dumping the Rituals here. They can have the Manamorphose, but we dump Desperate Pyretic. Because if they don't have enough Rituals in hand to get all the way to Past in Flames and have 1 leftover mana, then, well, if they had a Manamorphose in hand, that's pretty good. Plus the one we just gave them. Then empty the Warrens. Okay, well, that is unfortunate. Especially considering they're going to have like a lethal attack, and if we don't kill this Electromancer, they'll be able to Past in Flames and then just go off again. That sucks. Okay, so we're going to need a hand with like an opening Thoughtseize and probably Nile Spellbombs post-board. They may switch to pieces of the puzzle, but it's our hand hate that's going to give us the best advantage. So we untap. We draw Late Inquisition. My instinct says to play Seasoned Pyromancer, discard a couple of cards, make enough blockers to maybe survive a hit, but I think we're just going to die. So, push Electroman, Inquire, Baral, repeal Past in Flames. Take Repeal, play a Mountain, go to combat. I can't possibly make enough blockers. I'm going to 1 or 2. Yeah, alright, we're just going to concede. That was a very fast empty the Warrens. Like, if it had been Grape Shot, we would have been fine. Okay, so versus this opponent, we're definitely bringing in Brutalities. Definitely bringing in Ashiok. Nile Spellbomb seems nice, and because my opponent is playing empty, I kind of want Plague Engineer. Now versus this opponent, I think the Lightning Bolts are going to... Lightning Bolt and Collective Brutality are going to be our removal of choice. I'm actually going to drop probably most of the Fatal Pushes. Kroxa, I think, is going to be way too slow. Even though it taxes my opponent's hand, I think that, like, playing him as a 2-mana, what is that card? Raven's Crime is just not going to be good enough. Maelstrom Pulse has game versus the Goblin tokens. Bloodbraid might be a little bit slow. Liliana taxes their hand, and like the Edict can be meaningful. Abrupt Decay is an instant speed kill spell's fine. And cut like a Goyf. I guess I can cut like a Liliana, a Pyromancer, and probably a Kolaghan's Command. I'm a little bit light on creatures though. I took out a lot of creatures. I think I'm going to cut Kolaghan's Command and play the last Tarmogoyf. We'll try it like that. Once again, don't know how to play this deck. Not 100% on how to sideboard. This is just what makes the most sense to me, knowing about how Jund plays. If we draw land, it's good. If we don't, it's very bad. We play 23 land. This is a huge risk. I could get a redraw off of Nile Spellbomb. We do have a Lightning Bolt. I'm going to risk it. Opponent did mulligan to 6. So play Wooded Foothills. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a land and Serum Visions. Okay. So pass turn. I'm not going to crack the fetch land. I want as many lands in my deck because I want to draw one. That is not a land. So we want... What do we want? If I had to fetch and play Nile Spellbomb here, I would want a land that taps for black and a land that taps for red. The problem is, if I don't leave up Lightning Bolt, my opponent could go like Pyretic, Manamorphose, Cost Reducer combo off if I don't leave up Lightning Bolt. But Stomping Ground could be a thing, but I think Blood Crypt is better here. I'm probably just totally screwed, but we'll see. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays Fiery Islet. Oh, please let me top deck a land. Pyretic Ritual. That's not good. Pyretic Ritual, Manamorphose. No, don't tell me they actually had like the God Hand to get the frickin'. Oh my god. Really? That's pretty good. And that is way, way early for us to have any sort of removal that matters. If I had just left up Lightning Bolt, we'd have been fine. I'm not used to Storm decks playing Empty the Warrens, though. That's the problem. I can't believe I called that happening. It's so unlikely for them to have that specific sequence of cards, because it means they had to have multiple rituals, and Manamorphose, and a cost reducer, and a storm payoff. And so, like, just the odds of them having those, like, that many cards is just crazy. Okay, so we can play Verdant Catacombs. We can crack this for a basic forest. Then we can 3-mode Brutality. We can duress, kill a token, drain our opponent, and we'll pitch like Pyromancer and I guess Abrupt Decay. We need to draw a land next turn and then like go Goyf Bolt. Yeah, we're taking Empty the Warrens from them. We basically have to go like Goyf Bolt and then top deck Plague Engineer, and we don't get any redraws to do that either. So opponent goes to combat, attacks us for 10. They cast Serum Visions. They draw a card and scry. We untap. We draw Bloodstained Mire. We're just dead, right? They have 10. Even if I do go Goyf Bolt, we're going to be 1 life too little. I can't believe that leaving up Lightning Bolt was the play. It would have been fine if I'd done it. Alright. I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, we will be on the draw for round 3. And this seems like a fairly decent hand. We can either, go turn 1 Fatal Push into Tarmogoyf Renin 6 versus Blitz. I am or Death Shadow. This could be Burn. This could be Death Shadow Burn. I'm very happy to have the early Fatal Push here. If I want to play Renin 6 or Tarmogoyf, I do have to Shock, which is unfortunate. I guess I no longer have to, because I could fetch a basic Swamp just to save life. But that means I'm going Tarmogoyf and not Renin 6, which I think is okay. I do not want to take the extra damage right now if I don't have to. Alright. Okay, opponent plays a Blood Crypt into a Kiln Fiend. Okay. So there's a good chance we're actually just dead. Gonna fetch a basic forest, and we're gonna play Tarmogoyf, which might be able to block enough. I have not seen Kiln Fiend combo in a long time. Although, with the new cards coming out in Strixhaven, I suspect that Kiln Fiend combo, along with like Clever Luminmancer, or whatever it's called, the 1-mana white double prowess, but better than prowess creature, I suspect you'll see a lot more Elemental Shotgun style combos. I've got an idea for a list with Niv Magus Elemental already. That's going to be pretty nasty. It's going to be like 3 or 4 colors, though, so it's going to be this crazy, like, all-mana Confluence land deck. I'm pretty excited to play it, but A red. They're starting Manamorphose, which is never a good thing to see. They put Lurrus into their hand. Oh, they really didn't have anything then. So Mutagenic Growth? They can't give it Trample, to my knowledge, so I'm okay trading off Tarmogoyf for this. They would have to have another Mutagenic Growth to kill Tarmogoyf. Okay, this is excellent. So they had to have another Mutagenic Growth to kill Tarmogoyf and save their Kiln Fiend. But now opponent only has 3 cards in hand. And I can make them discard and we can kill Kiln Fiend. Like, opponent can play Lurrus and then can replay Bauble. Or if they drew a land, they could play Lurrus and replay Swift Spear. We got rid of Lightning Bolt, that's huge. They play Sunbaked Canyon. Here comes Lurrus. Let's see what they play. I'm hoping it's Bauble, but I suspect it's Swift Spear. Yep. Okay. They hit us for 1. We go to 15. Untap. Draw Blackcleave Cliffs. So play Blackcleave Cliffs and force them to discard their last card and kill Lurrus. They discard a mountain. Okay. So next turn we can play Bloodbraid Elf, and hopefully we wheel into removal of some kind. Opponent is bricking on lands right now, which is excellent for us. We untap and draw Bolt. So I could play Renin 6, pick up a land, Kroxa, and Bolt. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that. Play Renin 6. Uptick. We'll get a Bloodstained Mire. Play Kroxa. We'll force them to play their last card in hand, if they can. Otherwise, they're going to lose it. It's a Lightning Bolt on Renin 6. Okay. They crack Bloodstained Mire, go to 12. Get a Blood Crypt tapped. So they take 3 damage off of Kroxa. So we need to get another black source, so I'm going to fetch up Blood Crypt here, which feels a little bit suicidal. And then we Lightning Bolt. Pass the turn. Next turn, we can either play Bloodbraid or reanimate Kroxa. Game's over. Woo! I was probably going to go with the Kroxa. Now, versus my opponent's deck, I want Collective Brutality like there's no tomorrow. I think we need Assassin's Trophy as just an additional removal spell. Nile Spellbomb is tempting. Because my opponent's deck is so fast, I think Kroxa is, once again, very terrible in this matchup. Like, it won us the game there, but I don't think it's that likely to do that. Thoughtseize feels a little bit suicidal. We're going to need less of our, like, late-game stabilization. So I'm going to bring in a couple of spell bombs, and we're going to try it like this. Seasoned Pyromancer, I guess, might be a little bit better than Bloodbraid, because it's guaranteed to make, like, blockers if it draws. Well, not guaranteed, but pretty close to guaranteed. And we're going to try it like this. Collective Brutality is very strong against this deck. They, in general, have to tap out for threats, and if they do, they have to use, like, Mutagenic Growth if they want to save their creature. You know, we have a ton of removal, which is, in general, pretty good against their deck, because their deck, while it does have a lot of threats, they have to have a lot of non-creature spells in their hand if they want those threats to kill you quickly. So I'm going to put back Raging Ravine. I can't really risk a tap land at the moment. Opponent starts Bloodstained Mire. They kept a hand of 7. I'm going to start Blood Crypt untapped into Nile Spellbomb. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire for a Blood Crypt. Probably bolts us. Yep. Okay. Nile Spellbomb resolves. Opponent untaps. They draw a card. They shock a Blood Crypt. Scourge of the Skyclaves. Not really what I had anticipated. I didn't expect Death Shadow style threats out of my opponent. But this does mean I basically am guaranteed to have to use Abrupt Decay here. So I'm going to play Verdant. I'm probably going to fetch up a basic Forest. I'm going to wait for them to attack because they may try and just kill me with like a bunch of Mutagenic Growths into a Temur Battle Rage or something like that. Opponent shocks Sacred Foundry. Goes to combat. Attacks us for 5. I really hope they don't have something really weird like a God's Willing or an Apostle's Blessing or something. Well, Abrupt Decay Scourge. They go to their main. Second Scourge is the opposite of what I wanted to see. We untap. We draw Lily. Lily is excellent here. Play Bloodstained Mire. Crack Bloodstained Mire. If for no other reason than she's a removal spell. So play Lily. Say goodbye, Scourge. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They, in general, probably have to do something about Lily. Just because their deck generally doesn't have a lot of card advantage, and they need to keep some number of cards in hand until they kill you. As you saw in the first game, if you can get them hellbent, they're basically screwed. Is this a Blood Moon? Or are they putting Luris in their hand? Oh, well, it can't be a Blood Moon. They have Luris in their deck. Or they have Luris as companion. So, one of each color. Border, what are you doing? They're going to pick up Scourge and kill Lily. Well, exile their grave. I don't need to draw a card. Lily down. We untap. Draw Overgrown Tomb. Oops. Play Renin 6. Porter. He's doing something he's not supposed to. I can see it. Hey, come over here and lay down. Come over here and lay down. Alright. So we'll pick up Bloodstained Mire. We don't have a lot of red lands left to fetch, so I'm just going to play a Stomping Ground tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent crash throughs to cycle. Puts Luris into their hand. Plays a Mountain. We untap, we draw Bloodbraid, which is a pretty excellent top deck. Red, green, black, Bloodbraid Elf. Cascade into Fatal Push, no targets. Resolve Bloodbraid. Pick up Verdant. Play Bloodstained Mire, go to combat, and hit them for 3. Take them to 10. They untap. So they can play Luris and play Kroxa. Okay? So we have to take damage. Because we have no non-land cards to discard. We'll discard Verdant, because that's the land our opponent knows we're holding. Opponent plays Luris, plays a Wooded Foothills, and passes. Gonna fetch up a basic Swamp. I should have fetched Overgrown Tomb on my opponent's end step, but we draw a Fatal Push. Actually, that worked out better than intended. Kill Luris. Uptick Bloodstained Mire. Go to combat. Hit my opponent for 3. Take them to 7. And I'm just going to go ahead and play Overgrown Tomb tapped. I know there's an Overgrown Tomb left in my deck, and potentially I may want to fetch it out of my deck so I don't draw it, but opponent is probably going to replay Kroxa here, which is a huge issue. Yeah, they have just enough cards in their grave they can replay Kroxa. So we're going to 6, and we need to draw removal, or somehow kill our opponent. Discard Bloodstained Mire. We untap. We draw Mountain. So pretty sure we're dead. We can play Wooded Foothills, pick up Bloodstained Mire, but pass the turn. So we have to dodge like a Lightning Bolt, a Crash Through, Teamer Battle Rage, Lava Spike. There's a lot. This isn't likely to work. Opponent attacks. We'll discard Bloodstained Mire. We get darted. Why didn't they just double dart? Oh, never mind, because we're just dead to 2 lava darts. Alright, no worries. We were dead a lot of ways there. Do I want the 3rd Nile Spellbomb? What would I play it over? Renin 6, maybe? Try it like that. Alright, I'll play first. We get to lead on Thoughtseize and start a lot closer to dead than I feel comfortable. Especially versus a guy that's playing creatures that get bigger the less life I have. So we still are going to keep it because we have a pretty good curve. So we'll start Blood Crypt into a Thoughtseize. Swift Spear, Bauble, Bolt. Take Swift Spear. Pass the turn. Opponent starts by playing Bauble. And draws an extra card after playing a Bloodstained Mire. Sure. We draw Verdant. So we're going to fetch up a basic forest to mitigate life loss here and play Goyf. Pass the turn. So opponent fetches up a Bloodstained Mire, draws a card, or fetches up a Blood Crypt off of Bloodstained Mire, plays a Mountain. Double red into Kiln Fiend. Okay. We untap, draw Inquisition. So you know they're at least holding Lightning Bolt, but if I play Inquisition, I'm giving up Seasoned Pyromancer. Think Inquisition when your opponent has an active Kiln Fiend is the correct choice. Bolt. So they're holding 4 lands. We'll play Stomping Ground tapped. And the correct choice here, I believe, is Pressure. Now, knowing Kano luck, this is my prediction. My prediction is my opponent is going to Quadra Manamorphose and kill me off the top. It's going to be nasty, whatever it is. If they somehow drew a 5th land, they just put Luris into their hand this turn. And we thank whatever patron saint of top decks exists. Alright, so opponent hits us for 1 and puts Lurrus into their hand after playing a mountain. So we untap, we draw a Fatal Push, which is actually quite perfect. Oh, crap. If I play Seasoned Pyromancer, I have to pitch both lands, and then if I didn't draw a land, I wouldn't be able to push. So we're just going to leave up push and hit them for 5. The real problem is they're either going to replay Bauble or Swift Spear, and if they replay Swift Spear and draw Crash through, we are in deep. Okay? Opponent untaps. They draw a card. If they have like a big combo this turn, we could kill Kiln Fiend with Fatal Push, and we would probably be okay. I think what's most likely is my opponent's going to play Lurrus, then play Swift Spear, attack with both of their creatures that can attack. And if they do that, I'm going to fetch a basic swamp, push Lurrus, and then pray whatever we draw plus whatever we draw off of Seasoned Pyromancer is enough to stop us from dying, long enough to win the game. Alright, there's the Lurrus. They shocked Blood Crypt for it. Oh, they're playing Swift Spear. They go to combat. They only attack us for 1. Okay, so we're going to fetch up an Overgrown Tomb tapped, push Lurrus, untap, we draw a Bloodbraid Elf. Is it better to play the land and Seasoned Pyromancer, or is it better to play Bloodbraid Elf and force the attack for lethal? My opponent has drawn 2 unknown cards. If I wheel into removal that can hit Swift Spear, which is a lot, because we brought in 3 Collective Brutalities, I win on the spot. If I play Seasoned Pyromancer, I'll have 2 mana left over, and if I draw removal, that gives us 2 looks for removal, but it doesn't win the game immediately. I think we play Wooded Foothills, and we Bloodbraid. Because if I hit any removal that kills Monastery Swift Spear, which is approximately half of our deck, we win immediately. Nice. I don't know the exact percentages, because I don't play this game with this deck enough to have that all memorized, but so I don't know which of those lines is technically correct. I just played the one that won sooner. I didn't want my opponent to untap, get an additional draw step, and kill me with some crazy Kiln Fiend nonsense. There was also a chance that, like, I guess what could we have wheeled into that would have been bad there? Because, I mean, like, I think the worst thing was Thoughtseize, and my opponent still had to block. Alright, well, we're 2-1. I'll see you all in round 4. Alright, we're on the play for round 4. I would like to play first. High risk, not that high reward hand, so we're going to mulligan. This I will work with. This is pretty good. I think I put back Maelstrom Pulse here. Leading on Inquisition seems strong versus most decks. Yeah, put back Maelstrom Pulse. Start shocking Blood Crypt, Inquisition my opponent. Through the Breach combo, huh? I guess we take Opt from them. Pass the turn. Opponent starts Temple of Epiphany. Well, unless they drew a different land and they want to leave up Bolt. Good draw here would be Tarmogoyf, just to put them under pressure. Another land in the next 2 turns so we could get Liliana would be great. Thoughtseize effects probably aren't bad. So they start Temple of Epiphany as predicted. We untap, draw Lightning Bolt, play Verdant Catacombs, fetch with Verdant Catacombs, and we'll get an Overgrown Tomb untapped. I am now down to the amount of life that a Through the Breach Emrakul would kill me on the spot, with no chance of surviving the Annihilator trigger anyway. Play Croxa, force our opponent to discard. They discard Lightning Bolt. Okay? They untap, they can play Reflecting Pool. We would like to draw land so we could play Liliana, even if that means discarding Bolt, on our side, I mean. So they play Reflecting Pool. We untap, we draw Thoughtseize, play Thoughtseize. Opponent has Breach, Bolt, Archmage's Charm. I think we take Charm. Bolt, while annoying, doesn't really do anything here. Like, unless they have multiple bolts, they can't kill Liliana immediately. They don't have the mana to Bolt, Snap, Bolt. We've pretty well shut off their drawing ability, and if they play a land, we know they top-decked it. So they top-decked Cascade Bluffs. I'm really happy I took that Archmage's Charm from them. Lightning Bolt their face. Untap. We draw Abrupt Decay, which does nothing. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Please don't hit a land. So now we basically have to draw Thoughtseize, which we only have 1 of. and take that Emrakul from them. We untap. Oh, it's not a land! Why are we drawing lands? Pass the turn. Alright, well they didn't just get a land to kill us with. They opt, though. Which means they probably got it. Uh-huh. We untap. Draw Croxa. Why am I not drawing lands? Oh, man. Play Croxa, pass the turn. If we had just drawn, like, 2 more lands in 6 turns, we'd have had Lily, she'd have been upticking, we'd have, like, reanimated Croxa by now, opponent would be very close to dead, like, literally 1 attack from dead. Alright, force them to discard. They discard their other bolt. They untap. Whatever it was, it's not a land, which means it's a counterspell. It's either a counterspell or a redundant copy of Emrakul. Oh my god! This is so, like, such an anemic series of draws. The worst part is casting this Inquisition is incorrect, because in all likelihood what they drew is Remand, and if I cast anything that draws them another card on the way to drawing their 5th land for Emrakul, like, I'm talking about, like, less than, like, 0.25%, like, difference in game win. But knowing me, this is when it's going to happen because of the number of games that I play, so... I mean, just... Force negation. They're holding Cryptic. Alright. That is very bad. Because that means they can counter Lily. Then they can, like, counter draw, get a redraw. You know, I actually think... with the amount of Cascade Bluffs I've seen, because I think this deck might actually play 3 or 4 of them. Bringing in Damping Sphere versus this opponent might be reasonable, because they can't just like cast a whole bunch of cantrips, they can't cast multiple counter spells, and it completely shuts off the whole Cascade Bluffs game plan. Okay, I have to top deck Thoughtseize or I die, and knowing us, it's going to be a land now. We only have 1 Thoughtseize left in the deck, 1 out of 47 chance. Actually, it doesn't even work because they have Cryptic, so we 0% chance of victory here. Why are they stopped on my upkeep? Like, are they considering, like, Cryptic bounce a land and draw on my upkeep? Alright. It was a land. I realize there's sometimes where, like, I sigh dramatically. I actually watched back one of my recent recordings, and this is the only reason I know this. Nobody pointed this out, because there's no way that anybody would have known. But, like, I sigh dramatically... and then just go to next game, and that doesn't appear on camera because it doesn't get picked up for the audio automatic edit script, so, like, the game just ends in its next game, and, like, nobody questioned it, so I don't know if it was just obvious that that's what happened, or, like, what was going on exactly, but there are a couple of times in my recent videos where it's just, like, I predict that this is going to be the end of the game, next game happens, like, there's just a hard cutoff there, so... versus this opponent, we're going to bring in the Collective Brutalities. I think those are important. Fulminator Mage to help disrupt my opponent's mana. Assassin's Trophy doesn't really do anything. Plague Engineer doesn't do anything. Ashiok, they don't play fetch lands, so no Ashiok. Fatal Push hits Snapcaster Mage and nothing else, so Fatal Push is coming out. Abrupt Decay is also not useful in this matchup. Neither is Maelstrom Pulse. Unless they have some sort of transformative sideboard plan that I don't know about. And I think I cut 1 Pyromancer, and we'll try it like this. Alright. I would like to play first. I imagine triple Thoughtseize Inquisition kind of combo and with a Goyf backup is probably the way to go here, especially when we are on the play. So I don't think I could ask for a much better opener than this. I guess top decking into Lily to help keep their hand size low, or a Croxa later after this hand is, like, it might get a little bit better, but this is pretty close to as good as it gets. So, whoop. They did mulligan to 6. We will lead on Inquisition. Snapcaster and Remand. They kept a Scry land and nothing else. So, take Remand. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Temple. Scries. Honestly, double Thoughtseize might be the way to go here. Just take, like, Through the Breach and snap from them. Get a Lightning Bolt. They put a card on top, which means it's a land. So, yeah, we're going to double Thoughtseize. I'm going to get a Blood Crypt here. Preserving my life total is not really possible. So opponent drew Reflecting Pool for turn, and they left a card on top of their deck. So I'm going to take, which means it's either a land or something really critical. I'm going to take Snapcaster, and I'm going to take Through the Breach. Okay, pass the turn. Playing Goyf may still have been correct there, but I just didn't want my opponent to have the ability to... They drew Opt. Okay, so they Opt. They play Valakut Stoneforge, so these 3 cards are the cards they have in hand. We draw Bloodstained Mire. Play Wooded Foothills. Play Tarmogoyf. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Probably plays Reflecting Pool. Nope. Temple of Epiphany. So they're still holding these 3 cards. They get to scry, and they put it on the bottom. Okay. I'm going to fetch up a basic mountain and bolt them here. And the reason that I'm doing this now is they're going to draw they're going to have the ability to Cryptic after this turn, so I want to have all of my mana in case I draw something like a Bloodbraid. Fulminator is excellent. So go to combat. Hit them for 4. Play Bloodstained Mire. Play Fulminator. Nuke a Temple. I could have maybe gotten greedy, left it on board and attacked with it, but I really want to keep my opponent off of Cryptic for as long as possible. Opponent plays Reflecting Pool. They have 1 unknown card in their hand. We untap. Draw Wrenn and 6. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 4. They go to 9. Play Wrenn and 6. Pick up Wooded Foothills. They bolt our face. Okay. I mean, their best plan might be like a Snap Bolt play. I'm not going to crack these fetches unless I absolutely have to. Or maybe I should be thinning my deck. I think I can get away with 1. I'm going to fetch up another Overgrown Tomb tapped. We untap. We draw Verdant. Not what I wanted to see. Go to combat. Hit my opponent for 4. Take them to 5. I could just Wrenn and 6 ping them now. They'd have to have another bolt to kill Wrenn and 6, but with as low as our life total is, they would probably just hit us. I'm going to do this to make them feel like they have to answer the Goyf. I mean, also, this means top deck bolt is lethal as well, because I could downtick Wrenn and 6 again. If my opponent drew the 3rd Lightning Bolt, I'll be a little upset. Okay, cool. I was kind of expecting them to have the land for Cryptic and buy themselves another turn and an extra draw step as well, but thankfully we got there. Fulminator Mage doing work. Stone Rain mode. We have Liliana, Fulminator, Thoughtseize. There's a lot of top decks that make this hand really good. If we draw a 2-drop in the first 2 turns of the game, that's going to be excellent. Draw Collective Brutality, that's perfect. So start Overgrown Tomb into a Thoughtseize. It's just going to be Duresses all the way up till we hit the Stone Rain. Opponent has Force of Negation, Remand. We take Remand here. Pass the turn. Because if they have to force Collective Brutality or Liliana, that's totally fine. They only have 2 lands, at least unless they drew 1 here. They play Cascade Bluffs. So we draw Bloodbraid. So play Bloodstained Mire, fetch up a basic Swamp, and we're going to 2-mode this Duress. Actually, I think we just 1-mode. We'll just Duress mode. They force pitching Snapcaster. Wow. I did not expect that. But that means this Liliana is going to be excellent. Alright, opponent untaps. They draw a card. They probably play Pathway. They do. On a red. So I think it's better to try and resolve Lily this turn because of the lack of counter spells. And unless my opponent has double bolt, they can't answer her immediately. We're going to pitch a Wooded Foothills to this. Provided, of course, she resolves. And she does. Uptick. Pitch Wooded Foothills. Opponent discards... It's probably whatever their 3rd card is. Unless they discard Lightning Bolt. Okay. Pass the turn. So Fulminator is as good as Time Walk here. Because really their only way to win for if they're discarding bolts and burn and stuff like that, they need to get to 5 lands and then have the combo. So depending on what I draw, I may actually pitch Bloodbraid here. I don't want to do that, but I will if I have to. Second Fulminator. Yeah, I'm going to discard Bloodbraid because I want to just start Stone Raining lands until we can ult Lily. So uptick Lily to 5. Let's see what they discard. We'll discard Bloodbraid. Opponent discards River Glide Pathway, keeping Through the Breach in hand. Play Fulminator. That's probably game. Yeah, we even had the backup Fulminator. Alright, well, we are 3-1 going into the final round, so I'll see you guys there. Been a long league. Alright, we're on the play for round 5, and if we could top deck only lands, this hand would be great, but we're going to mulligan that. This is much more reasonable of a start, and I think I put back the mountain, maybe? Yeah, put back the mountain. We will start Blackcleave Cliffs, Inquisition. And it's Tron! Take map. Pass the turn. I will use my Tron knowledge to beat my opponent. Opponent starts Forest, Ancient Stirrings. They get a Mine, so they do have 2 Tron pieces already. This is not good for us. But it's a turn 4 Tron at the earliest. We get a Renin 6. So play Verdant Catacombs, fetch with Verdant Catacombs. We will get an Overgrown Tomb, untapped. Play Renin 6, and pick up Verdant. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a power plant that is not the power plant we saw either. That's important. This is why you, if you can, try to play as many of the same arts as possible, especially on Moto. Because now they revealed information without, like, if they had had all of their power plants to be the same art, they wouldn't have revealed information there, and that could be very important. We draw Bloodstained Mire. So, play Verdant Catacombs. Fetch. Just a basic swamp here is fine. Pick up Verdant Catacombs. Play Lily. Uptick Lily. Discard Verdant Catacombs. Opponent will probably discard Power Plant here. They discard Karn? Okay. Pass the turn. They play Mine. Sack Star for green. And they're passing. We untap. We draw Blackcleave Cliffs. Uptick Lily to 5. Discard Blackcleave Cliffs. Opponent discards Power Plant. Uptick Renin 6. Pick up Verdant. Play Verdant. Pass the turn. So opponent will get to resolve a Tron threat here. Let's hope it's one we can deal with. They just, knowing me playing Tron, they're going to have the Tron lands. So they discarded Karn, which was good for us. They play an Oblivion Stone, which is very bad for us, because they now have the mana to activate Stone. And they do so immediately. Fetch with Verdant Catacombs. We need Stomping Ground. So we lose everything. Opponent is active Tron, 3 cards in hand, none of which we know. And we only draw lands. Now when I said that deck, I meant for hand number 1, not this hand, We've even been fetching extra lands and stuff too. Opponent plays Karn the Great Creator. They wish. Getting a Sorceress Spyglass. They play Spyglass. We bolt Karn. Oh, hang on. Fetch Bloodstained Mire. Get a Blood Crypt. Tapped. Okay, there we go. So they get to see we're holding lands. They can name Liliana. They can name Renin 6. I think that's all the activated abilities we have in the main deck. The Ancient Stirrings. Well, they're going to hit something. They chose Lily. That's not that unreasonable. They get an Ugin. Alright. We untap. We draw Abrupt Decay. That's going to be game. Too little, too late. Alright, so versus Tron. Artifact or enchantment. So we're going to bring in the De-Glamour effects. Fulminator and Ashiok. And Assassin's Trophy. I don't think we want the Brutalities. Fatal Push comes out. I need to cut 4 more cards. I think we can cut a Renin 6, a Pyromancer, and then like a couple of Blood Braids maybe. Try like that. I would like to play first. We got an opener with Ashiok, so I'm willing to keep this. We're going to start Verdant Catacombs and fetch up an Overgrown Tomb. Hopefully Ashiok comes down by a time that it's actually going to matter. The fact that we don't have Hand Hate to lead on here really sucks. Maybe I shouldn't have been so hasty to keep this hand. Ashiok's not just GG versus Tron unless they have a bad hand. Well, they mulligan to 4, so it should just be GG. We'll start Verdant Catacombs, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, draws up to 5. Plays a tower and a star. Fetch an Overgrown Tomb. Alright, we untap. Draw Fulminator, perfect. Play Blackcleave Cliffs, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Blast Zone. Plays a Sphere. Passes. We untap. Draw Thoughtseize. Play a Mountain. Play Ashiok. Opponent cycles Star for green. They probably brought in Veil. I think we do mill them. Now, this is bad if they play like Karn Great Creator and we mill artifacts for them to wish for, but generally they would be getting something out of their sideboard anyway. We got an Urza's Mine from them. So unless my opponent plays second Tron land, we're going to play Lily. If they do play second Tron land, and they did, we're going to play Fulminator. And since we already got a mine off of Ashiok, we're going to Fulminate that Urza's Mine. We untap, we draw a Swamp. I guess we start Thoughtseize. They have Karn, a second tower, and a Sanctum. Take Karn. Play Swamp. Play Fulminator. Take out Mine. Cycle Star for green. They put a counter on Blast Zone. We mill them. So we got that Urza's Mine. Nothing else of really any consequence. Pass the turn. We need to get Lily down and start taxing their hand. They play Sanctum of Ugin. They take out Blast Zone to 3. We draw Blackcleave Cliffs. Mill our opponent. I'm going to play Seasoned Pyro, and I'm going to discard Lightning Bolt and Blackcleave Cliffs. I want to keep Lily in hand. I've got a suspicion that they're just going to crack Blast Zone. Okay, play Bloodstained Mire. Crack Bloodstained Mire. We'll get a Blood Crypt untapped. And then play Renin 6. Picking up a land. Pass the turn. I mean, they have to have another land in hand. We know they have a second tower. They play the second tower. They crack Blast Zone immediately, I think. They play Karn Great Creator. They wish, probably for Expedition Map, maybe, because they do have an active Blast Zone. I mean, we can attack and kill Karn. We know that they don't have Sanctum or Tower anymore. They wish for O-Stone. We untap. We draw Fulminator, so opponent is going to be very sad. I guess technically we go to combat, kill Karn, Fulminate, Blast Zone, Bloodstained Mire, fetch, get a Swamp, play Lily, uptick Lily, opponent discards Sylvan Scrying, mill them. Okay, then we pick up a land, pass the turn. Opponent can play O-Stone this turn, but they are at least 2 turns from activating it. Alright, we untap, draw Overgrown Tomb. Play Overgrown Tomb tapped. Force our opponent to discard their last card. It's a Sylvan Scrying. Pick up a land. I think leaving Ashiok rather than milling them is more important. Go to combat. Attack them for 3. If they do draw another land to activate O-Stone, that sucks, but it's not the end of the world. How many Sylvan Scryings have they exiled? All of them? Okay. Mill them with Ashiok. There's another power plant and a map. Pass the turn. I just want to get use out of that if I can. Like, it's bad if they drew Expedition Map. Which they did, but that's not important right now. They get Power Plant. They play Power Plant. Alright, we untap. Draw Bloodstained Mire. Uptick to 6. Discard Bloodstained Mire. Play Bloodstained Mire. I guess we'll pick up a Bloodstained Mire. Opponent basically has to activate O-Stone this turn. Hit them for 3. We are once again drawing too many lands. I feel like we should have another Nurturing Peatland in the deck. Blow up the world, you got it. So, Seasoned Pyromancer, Bloodstained Mire fetch, get Stomping Ground, no more fetchable lands left in the deck. No, we have a basic forest. Maelstrom Pulse. Alright. Should have kept that Bloodstained Mire in hand just in case they played Karn and upticked. That is a mistake. But that implies their last 2 cards are going to be Urza's Mine and Karn. Alright. They didn't have it. We draw Unravel the Aether. Alright. Go to combat. That would have been nice pre-O-Stone, but hit them for 2. Yeah, especially because that Bloodstained Mire can't actually fetch anything. Opponent passes. We draw Raging Ravine. Okay. Happy about a Raging Ravine. Go to combat. It turns it from a 5-turn clock to a 3-turn clock. Hit them down to 8. Pass the turn. I really should have kept that Bloodstained Mire in hand. I got a feeling that's going to bite me. Ancient Stirrings. You got Karn, Great Creator. And they play Karn. They can wish for map. If they wish for map, I'm going to deglamour the map and Maelstrom Pulse Karn. They get Pithing Needle. Alright. Mad respect to Pithing Needle. This is one of those situations that I tell all the people who watch me for Tron, like, Sorceress Spyglass is great and all, but having Pithing Needle is amazing, because there's times where you're stuck with only 1 extra mana after Karn, like this time. Now, it doesn't matter, because I have Unravel the Aether, but we untap. We draw Kolaghan's Command. I am going to Pulse Karn. Fire up Raging Ravine. I guess we'll represent Bolt Mana. Go to combat, hit them for 6, and if we get to cast this Kolaghan's Command, we kill them. They go to 2. Opponent untaps. Ancient Stirrings. You get a Chromatic Star. Chromatic Star is probably not good enough. They play Star. Sack Star for green. They don't have Thragtusk mana. Awesome. Well, that one was hard fought. I went on to game 3. Maybe we do want Bloodbraid Elf, because Bloodbraid Elf is like, it's pretty good. Yeah, I was complaining about drawing only lands, but I realize I've taken out a lot of the card advantage creatures. Maybe I've over-sideboarded a bit, but I'm just going to run it back. This still feels like the correct setup. Maybe I should be only running like 3 Lightning Bolts, but they're useful versus the Planeswalkers. Once again, if we had a fetch land in this hand, in addition to most of the cards in this hand, it'd be amazing, but we don't, so we're mulliganing. Alright, multiple Fulminators. I think we put back Lily. We're kind of relying on our opponent not just having turn 3 Tron, which is actually pretty likely that they do, especially now that they're playing like that. We'll start Verdant Catacombs, pass the turn. Assassin's Trophy would be a great top deck. Yep, mine Power Plant. I'm not going to crack this fetch land. Get a Lightning Bolt. Play Overgrown Tomb, tapped. I probably should have played Nurturing Peatland there, actually, now that I think about it. Because if they played like 7 mana Karn, I could cycle it in response, untap, and bolt to kill Karn, but okay, they don't have the turn 3 Tron. Thank goodness. Alright, now we can fetch with Verdant Catacombs and get Blood Crypt, and just fulminate them out of the game. We untap and get Kolaghan's Command, play a Swamp, Fulminator Mage. Opponent ticks up Blast Zone to 2. Take out mine. It doesn't really matter what Tron land you first start destroying, but once you pick one, it does influence how you have to continue destroying Tron lands. Okay, opponent Sylvan Scrying. They get an Urza's Tower. We untap. We draw Renin 6. So play Renin 6. And well, no, we do have a red source still. We can get Stomping Ground here. Play Verdant Catacombs. We need to get another red source so we can play Pyromancer. We also need to be able to play Lightning Bolt. Opponent plays Tower. Passes. On their end step, fetch with Verdant Catacombs. Get Stomping Ground. Untapped. And Lightning Bolt our opponent. We untap. Draw Verdant Catacombs. Play Peatland. Cycle Peatland. We get a Kroxa. Uptick, pick up Peatland. It's going to be important to be able to replay that one. Because we need to get some extra draws in here on our way to like stopping our opponent playing Tron. Blow up Urza's Tower. Pass the turn. So next turn we can play Kroxa and command. Opponent has a tower. Plays a sphere. They pass. We untap. Draw Pyromancer. Play Nurturing Peatland. Play Kroxa. Force my opponent to discard. They discard Karn Liberated. Oh shoot, I actually needed to play this a little bit differently than I did. Pick up Verdant Catacombs. Pass the turn. Yeah, I think I needed to play out Seasoned Pyromancer and go wide. Okay, opponent cycles Sphere for green. Plays another Sphere. Cycles Sphere for green. Plays a second tower. Activates Blast Zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can cycle Peatland, or I can Kolagon's Command to get enough for Kroxa. We're gonna have 5 mana next turn. I could have 6 mana next turn and play like Pyromancer and then potentially draw another 3-drop that matters. Land destruction here isn't gonna help because they have redundant Tron lands. I think I Kolagon's Command them. I'm gonna pick up Fulminator, force them to discard. Okay, we lose Renin 6. Opponent discards Ulamog. Now if I draw Assassin's Trophy or another Fulminator, we're in a really good place, but I'm not playing Kroxa this turn. I'm going to play Fulminator and Seasoned Pyromancer, but I'm going to do so in an order that makes sense. Play Seasoned Pyromancer. We're going to discard Blackcleave Cliff's Verdant Catacombs. We get Inquisition, but we're playing... Do we play Fulminator? So, okay. Fulminator, we can take them off of having Tron plus 5, 12 mana. They've already discarded Ulamog, though, which, unless they're holding 2 Ulamogs, I think Inquisition might actually be the stronger play here, because if they're relying on a map or a Sylvan Scrying to get to Tron, Inquisition can disrupt that. It's bad if they have multiple land tutors, or it's bad if they have the last Tron land in hand and Urza's Mine in hand. Fulminator is better after they play Urza's Mine because we can nuke Urza's Mine, so I'm going to Inquisition. Nature's Claim, they do not have the last Tron land. We've dodged a bullet for a turn. Pass the turn. Wormcoil and Conduit of Ruin is less than good, though. They play a power plant, and they're passing. Do I need 7 mana? I might want to just play out everything next turn. I don't think I cycle Peatland yet. We draw Thoughtseize. Well, that maybe sort of helps. I can play my whole hand. Let's Thoughtseize them. We're probably taking Wormcoil. Okay, they have multiple Wormcoils. To take a Wormcoil from them, they have Conduit of Ruin and Wormcoil Engine. Now I can play Kroxa, and that's probably the way to go. Red, red, black, black. Get rid of a whole bunch of stuff out of our grave. We're going to force them to discard, and it's probably Conduit of Ruin that they discard. Interesting. I've not seen Conduit of Ruin in a Tron list. Though they are playing World Breaker, so this kind of makes sense. So they discard Conduit of Ruin. Their last card is Wormcoil Engine, and if they draw a land, we might be screwed. Attack for 2, take them to 15. I mean, if they draw a land, they're Hellbent, and we could fulminate whatever, you know, if it's an Urza's Mine they draw. It's a forest, and they have Tron. Well, they don't have Tron, they have Wormcoil Engine. Man, I gotta really actually say what's happening and not just whatever my brain wants to say. Alright, we untap, we draw Lightning Bolt. That doesn't particularly help. So we can fetch with Verdant Catacombs, get a forest. Man, I can only play Pyromancer or Lightning Bolt, and I would really like to be able to play both. Cycle Peatland. We get a Goyf. Okay. That makes things a little easier. Go to combat. Attack with Kroxa. Force them to discard. They block. So the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to play Fulminator to take them off of green. And I'm going to play Tarmogoyf. This lets me keep Lightning Bolt for reach if I need it, or I can take out like their Death Touch guy. Let's play Tarmogoyf first so I don't mess up this tapping. I can't fulminate the forest, but I can fulminate an Urza's Tower, and that's what I'm going to do. On 6 mana, they have several playables between Wormcoil Engine and Conduit of Ruin. So I think it's important to keep them down at 5 at this point of the game. Pass the turn. Next turn I can't Lightning Bolt and play Kroxa, which is an issue, because I've had all the wrong fetch lands. We untap. I draw Bloodstained Mire. That is very important. So play Bloodstained Mire. Red, red, black, black. And get rid of... Oh, shoot. You know what? Hang on. I can't do that. I can't do that because I have... Opponent has land, artifact, sorcery, planeswalker, instant. Alright, so I should actually be fine to play Kroxa. Play Kroxa will force them to discard their last card. Or use it if it's an instant. It's a Karn. We don't have to sack it. Fetch Bloodstained Mire. Get a mountain. Bolt the Death Touch token. Then attack them for 6. They chump. They go to 21. They untap. We untap. We draw Assassin's Trophy. Go to combat. Swing with the whole team. Opponent discards. Karn Liberated. Takes 14. Goes to 7. I'm going to Assassin's Trophy their tower. This is not technically the most correct thing to do here, but it broke their spirit. Alright, well, we 4-1 with Jund. Jund is a very good deck, so, I mean, like, it's interesting. Like, I've played Magic for so long, playing, like, janky, underpowered decks. And, I mean, like, I do play good decks, too, but for a lot of the time, I tend to play more janky, off-meta stuff. So playing with actual good decks with really powerful cards... Ooh, I love Phyrexian Crusader. This is one of my earliest favorite cards. I started playing when Innistrad Block Avacyn Restored was like the new set. So like there was a lot of new Phyrexia cards and Mirrodin cards, and I loved zombies. So seeing Phyrexian Crusader and this wall of text on him was awesome. The problem with Phyrexian Crusader is the keyword Infect actually makes him worse, because you want to play a card like this or Mirrodin Crusader in their corresponding like tribal decks. Like Mirrodin Crusader you could play in a humans deck at the time. This you couldn't play in a zombies deck because it was dealing damage on a whole different axis than the regular damage your opponent was receiving. So, but I still love zombies. Garuda, 5 play points. I know I interrupted something else I was talking about, but like playing a deck that has like the top tier cards in the metagame, that is a well-known tier deck, that is on the high power level, even though it costs a ridiculous amount of money to actually have the cards for the deck, especially in paper, it's ridiculous. Like, I think it's like $1,200 or something in paper to play Jund. It really does show like how powerful the deck is, and it feels like playing with the brakes off. We got 20 play points and a pile driver. I've got more to say about that, but let's finish opening these treasure chests. Treasure chest number 3. 5 play points, a full art Quakebringer. Bone Daddy still wants to build giants, which they did with Is It Giants now. There's an Is It Giants deck in Modern, but treasure chest number 4. 5 play points, Black Blade Reforged, and Gas Lord of Figu. I can't say that word. I've never seen this card. I know, like, what is it? The Overbeing of Myth, Demigod of Revenge, Divinity of Pride. I know that's a cycle. I have never seen this card. Can't be blocked. When it deals combat damage to a player, they reveal their hand. You choose a card from it and exile. 5 mana, 4/4. Wow. All right. Final treasure chest. 25 play points and an Urborg. Yeah, man. Jund's a pile of good cards. Like, I really don't have that much to say about it. I definitely don't know all the lines for Jund because I have a lot of inexperience with Jund. I don't know a lot of the meta calls you can make with Jund, simply because I lack the experience playing it. But to finish off my previous thought, I've been told by good friends of mine that I know in person. I got frustrated because I've been playing Magic for a very long time, almost a decade at this point, and I used to complain because my win percentages, like when I was trying to really try hard, and like I wanted to be a Magic Pro at one time. That dream has long since died for other reasons, but I wanted to be a Magic Pro at one time, and I was trying to grind, and I wanted to play, I wanted to play like weird tier 2 decks, and I did really well with them, but still my win percentage suffered a lot because I was playing a lot of tier 2 decks. And I was getting really frustrated, and I wanted to quit Magic, just because like I just couldn't. I was like hitting a ceiling, right? But therein lies like a fatal flaw in my logic. And one of my best friends, actually my best friend in the entire world, told me, he said, "Dude, you do realize like you're doing incredibly well, and you're not even playing the good decks. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, have you ever picked up and held Jund and actually piloted it? And I said, no. Like, go do that. I didn't at the time, but his point, like, it's still impressed upon me. And the larger point that I'm getting to here is, while I was playing this deck in this league and the last league, I felt like I was fumbling, and there's like times where it's like, I don't know if I should keep this hand. I don't know if this is the right line to take. There's like 2 or 3 lines here, and all of them seem okay or good, but like I don't know which one's the right one. And that comes with experience and practice. But like, even though I was fumbling, we still 4-1'd. Like, when I'm playing Tron, I'm using that as the example because that's the current metagame deck that I know the best. When I'm playing Tron, I know what line is the best line. And, well, I'll say 95% of the time I know what line is the best line. And, I'll play it. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. And so it's when you're that knowledgeable about a deck, I don't get frustrated when I lose with it most of the time. And generally it's because like I knew what I was supposed to do, I did what I was supposed to do, or like something really crazy happened and it was interesting anyway and I lost because of it. Or I punted, which I'm known to do. But like something like that happens, and whether I win or I lose, it was kind of expected at that point. Jund feels like it's on a higher power level because it doesn't have a straightforward game plan. Like I struggle with this because there's a lot of people use a lot of words to describe these decks, and a lot of people disagree about what descriptors fit to what decks. So I'm just going to try and explain this as best I can. Jund is a deck that is relatively straightforward, but you're not trying to do one thing. Tron is a straightforward deck, but you're trying to do one thing, which is assemble Tron, play a threat. Like, Jund, you're just trying to, like, beat your opponent down with the most efficient cards in every slot that have incidental synergies with each other that are very strong. And Jund is the type of deck that I personally dislike. I don't like playing what I consider a good stuff deck. And Jund, to me, for a very long time, I considered a good stuff deck. It's just, 3 colors, the best cards in those colors in Modern for a particular, like, it's not even like a particular strategy. In general, a lot of people would agree that, Lightning Bolt is one of the best red cards, if not the best red card. Thoughtseize Inquisition are some of the best black cards, if not the best black card. Like, Liliana of the Veil, same descriptor. Tarmogoyf is the best green dude. Like, Bob used to be the best card advantage engine, and that used to be one of the main things about playing Jund. That sort of thing. And I really dislike good stuff decks. Then the era of 5-color Uro Omnath in every format existed, and 5-color Snow was prior to that, and, like, those are good stuff decks. Those are literally the metagame has homogenized at the top, and 5-color good stuff is the best deck. Jund is technically, in my mind anyway, and you feel free to disagree with me on this, Jund is the same sort of idea, but restrained and sane comparatively. You're playing 3 colors. There are things you're vulnerable to. Your game plan is mostly fair. You're trying to interact with your opponent. You're playing efficient beaters, that sort of a thing. It's not like I'm playing the best cards in all 5 colors, have an instant win combo, gain 1,000,000 life every turn, have planeswalkers that shut off whole facets of the game for my opponent, and get to play whatever removal I damn well feel like. Like, it's not like that. And so, since having that experience in the metagame, my personal feelings on Jund has changed. I used to really dislike this deck. Now I only mildly dislike it. But playing it is really fun. In principle, I dislike the deck, but playing it is really fun. Simply because, except for the games where it's like I only drew lands, which... Well, I was pretty much, I'm fairly certain I'm only running into those because I keep taking out the card advantage cards to bring in the sideboard cards. So I don't know how to sideboard with Jund, and I bet you with more experience and learning how to play this deck, I could do really good with this deck. I could do a lot better than I did today, the last time I played it, etc. But other than those times where we're just drawing, 8 lands in a row, it's turn 12... my opponent just draws into Through the Breach because I didn't do anything for 12 turns. Like, other than those games, Jund always feels like you're playing Magic. And that's a very important thing. And I know I'm rambling and I'm really going off the rails at this point, only because I don't have a lot of things to talk about the deck specifically. But I think it's important that every single game that I played, with the exception of the Mana Screw ones, I felt like I played Magic. And in the last 2 years, there have been an overwhelming amount of non-games of Magic for me. Either because I was playing Tron and I ran into Ponza. My opponent was playing Earl Omnath and there was just nothing I could do to interact with him. My opponent was playing 8-Rack and I was playing Ad Nauseum. Like, when you're playing a combo deck and you run into 8-Rack or you run into Lantern or you run into aggro that's faster than your combo, or you run into control and they just have infinite counter spells because they were playing Mystic Sanctuary. There have been so many non-games in the last 2 years for me that it has been very frustrating. Not because I'm trying to win, not because I'm trying to play a jank deck. Like, I'm trying to play Magic. And playing Jund today, I played 5 rounds of Magic. And that's a good feeling. And so, it's... I wish more people could have that feeling, and I hope that this talk post-game kind of explains some of my logic around the game. So, I'm not saying play Jund, because not everybody will be able to play Jund. It's a very expensive deck. It's a very niche deck. It doesn't have a lot... It's not niche. It doesn't have a lot of overlap with other decks, is what I'm trying to say, necessarily. But if you have access to Jund, I would play it. Even if you don't like playing it, just, like... If you're getting frustrated with the metagame and stuff like that, play something like Jund. You can play... there are other mid-range decks. Like, you can play Rock if you don't have the Seasoned Pyromancers, because I know they're very expensive, especially on Moto. Like, you could play, like, you know, the Siege Rhino version of the deck, playing Paths or Ousts or whatever. There was a Bant mid-range deck for a little while that was... People used to joke, oh, it's Bant Tradebinder. But, like, I really think that interactive mid-range decks, when properly balanced in the metagame and you run up against combo and control and aggro, they really feel like playing Magic to me. And with as much as I play Magic and as many non-games of Magic as I've seen, I can't be the only one that's frustrated about that. And I'm very glad now I have a newfound appreciation that this deck exists, even though in principle I don't like it. It's always going to exist. It'll exist in every format. It'll exist in every card game. There will always be a deck that is 2 to 3 out of 5 segments of the game mashed together in the most powerful way possible. That deck will always exist in any card game ever. I dislike it on principle, but at the same time, I'm glad it exists. I think it's healthy for the game. And even though I gripe and moan about it, especially when I'm on the receiving end of its real bad beats, I'm glad it exists. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember, you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier. And, yeah, no, this was a good time. I'm glad we won. I'm glad we got to play a lot of games of Magic. I got to use my brain in interesting ways. We got to play, powerful stuff. Really excited to do a Strixhaven booster box opening this month. I have 2 regular booster boxes and 1 collector's booster box on the way. But we'll see when they get here, if I'm going to do it on stream, if I'm going to do it just as a YouTube video, maybe one of each. I want to hold on to a box, but I also want to open all 3. I don't want to necessarily invest, but I do want to start collecting, if I can, a booster box and then just stick it away, because there's going to be a point in the future where I'm going to have some friends and they're going to want to draft an old set, and I kind of want to, if I can, start collecting a box here and there to do that with. I got to have that experience once with Innistrad, which was my all-time favorite set to draft. I absolutely adore drafting Innistrad. I'm glad that there's a flashback draft for it, usually every Halloween. And drafting Innistrad with my friends was great. And then 3 years later, somebody came up and said, hey, I have a box of Innistrad. I just want to draft it. Do you guys want to draft Innistrad? And having, it was an immediate, everybody wanted to do it. It was this great experience. And there are formats that have passed since then that I wish I had a booster box to go back and draft. And I could still do that now. I could go and buy them, but they're going to be way more expensive later. So, I'm not trying to say, oh, well, I should invest. And I mean, you can, but I really think I'm going to start collecting some booster boxes just to have the ability to go back and draft them later. So I'm not sure if I'm going to hold on to one of these or if I'm going to wait and buy another Strixhaven box later if I decide I really like the limited format. So we'll see what gets used for box opening related things on the channel. But all right, I have rambled for long enough. My total recording time is up almost over 3 hours at this point, so I really have to go. But I want you to know that you're all wonderful human beings, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys listen to me ramble, and it's entertaining to people. It's a good feeling, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.